so many different kinds of tuna. Chunk light, chunk white, solid yellowfin, chunk light, yellowfin, skipjack, sardine tuna. No. Oh, never mind. Skip that one. What's the difference? Does it matter? Is one better than the other? Does one taste better than the other? Anybody say anything about mercury? Hello, my name is Les, and I want to welcome you to the Chef Prepper channel. And in this video, we're going to dive into cans of tuna. It's not going to be a comparison video like we did with the chicken and the roast beef in these videos. In this video, we're going to stick with one brand of tuna just to find out what the difference is between chunk light, chunk white, solid yellowfin, chunk light yellowfin, and so on. I'll show you each type in the can, and then we'll take them out of the can and see how they look side by side as well. If there's an interest in canned tuna, then we will do a comparison with all the different brands of chunk light and all the different brands of chunk white and so on. So first, what kind of tuna is used in canned tuna? There's many different types of tuna available, several types that are available fresh or for steaks that's not put into cans. So what kind are put into can? There's albacore, skipjack, yellowfin, big eye, tonga, and on occasion bluefin. Bluefin is very expensive and you won't find canned bluefin tuna at your regular grocery store. So we're not going to concern ourselves with that in the video, but it is available. Generally speaking, in tuna, the smaller individuals will be put into the cans. The larger ones will be made into steaks and fillets and fresh fish and frozen fish. So that's good if you like canned tuna, because the smaller the tuna, the less mercury. So the sizes on some of these tunas, these are averages. So which of those types will you find in particular cans? Well, the most common tuna is going to be chunk light. It's primarily skipjack, but it also can have yellowfin, the tonga, and some of the smaller big eye, but primarily skipjack. The white tuna, whether it's chunk white or solid white, is always going to be albacore. That's the only kind of tuna that can be sold and labeled as white tuna. Then there is also yellowfin. This is the one exception to Starkist that I told you about. This is a chunk light yellowfin and a solid yellowfin. Some of your chunk light also might be yellowfin and only say chunk light. So anytime you get a particular type of tuna, yellowfin, it's going to be yellowfin. Or if it says skipjack, then it's skipjack. Otherwise, the chunk light could be a combination of skipjack, yellowfin, and big eye. So the nutritional information. We get tuna primarily for protein. Also, it also has some good fats, or the omega-3 fatty acids. It doesn't have a lot as compared to some of the other types of fishes, but it has some. It has roughly 50% of the recommended daily allowance of vitamin D. It also has a fairly good amount of vitamin B12. Okay, let's compare the nutrition based upon the labels between chunk white and chunk light. Now, something interesting about the ingredient labels of the chunk light, and I found this to be pretty common on all brands of chunk light. I don't know if you can see it or not, but the ingredients include vegetable broth. So I wondered, look at that. That can is dented. If I had watched that video, I probably wouldn't have bought this can of tuna. Anyway, before I researched this video, I didn't realize that vegetable broth is an ingredient in lots of canned tuna. So I wondered why that was, and I found out. Vegetable broth is added primarily to the chunk light tuna because the tuna may have been cooked and then put in the can and cooked again, meaning cooked twice, the second time being the pressure canning, as all the tuna gets. And the tuna can be dry. Yes, it's still in water and oil, but it can be dry and needs the vegetable broth to enhance the flavor. Interesting, huh? Now the chunk light and the chunk white are both available with less salt or sodium, if you prefer such. And you can also get no salt added. So when it comes to salt, you can get the regular, reduced sodium, or no salt added. You can also get your tuna in water, vegetable oil, or olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. Now we're going to look at the nutrition labels from chunk light in water, chunk light in vegetable oil, and yellowfin chunk in vegetable oil. If you go from 90 calories to 260 calories, that's a big difference. That's 3 times the number of calories in the same size can. So, Star-Kissed versus Dolores, both yellowfin, vegetable oil, olive oil. So when it comes to nutrition, according to the nutrition labels, there's not a lot of difference between the grams of protein, the grams of fat that's in the actual fish. The difference in calories and fat comes from the vegetable oil or the olive oil content. So, which should we get? In water, reduced sodium in water, no salt added in water, vegetable oil, or extra virgin olive oil. If salt is an issue for you, you probably want to get the no salt added. If, as a prepper, you're looking for number of calories, then it's going to be one of the tunas in oil. If you want calories and better nutrition, the extra virgin olive oil is going to be far, far superior for your health compared to the vegetable oils. So what about ingredients? In most of the chunk light, of course, it's going to have tuna, and if it's in water, it's going to have water. It will have some sodium or salt, and chunk light tuna, most of them have vegetable broth. The oil in this one is soybean oil, not good for you. This ingredient list: tuna, extra virgin olive oil, sea salt. The omega-3 content in the different types of tuna. Some other fish that you might recognize, like anchovies, herring, salmon, trout, that's wild caught, mackerel. These all have more than 1,000 milligrams, some of them quite a bit more than 1,000 milligrams per 4-ounce serving. So tuna has some omega-3s. They are good for you. But if your concern is getting omega-3 fatty acids, you probably need a different type of fish. Now let's make some real-world comparison, see what they actually look like. And I'll taste them for you and tell you what they taste like. I'll tell you about the taste, the saltiness, and the texture. And there are our cans of tuna in all their splendor and beauty. No, that's not Alpo or Fancy Feast. That is chunk light tuna in water, chunk light tuna in oil. Big difference in the way they appear to me. Chunk light yellowfin in oil, chunk light yellowfin in water. So there are all of the chunk lights. We know those two are yellowfin. Those two are probably skipjack, but they could be yellowfin as well. So those in oil, for some reason, look much better to me. Solid white or albacore in water, solid white in vegetable oil. Water, oil. Not sure, they're both supposed to be solid white, which they should look more like that. They both look pretty good to me, but again, the one in oil looks better to me. This is chunk white in water. I couldn't find chunk white in oil. And last, by itself, is solid yellowfin in extra virgin olive oil. These are all three in water: chunk light in water, chunk white in water, chunk yellowfin in water. As far as looks, I like that one. Chunk light in vegetable oil, yellowfin chunk in vegetable oil. Chunk yellowfin in water, chunk yellowfin in oil. Solid white in water, solid white in vegetable oil, solid yellowfin in extra virgin olive oil. All of them one more time. Now I'm going to take them out of the can and drain them, and then we will see what they look like that way, and then we will taste them. There's the canned tuna again in all of its splendor and beauty. There is one extra that I didn't show you a while ago in the can. I forgot it, but it is chunk white with no salt added. I put the empty cans in order as they are in the tray so I wouldn't forget which one is which. Chunk light in water, chunk white in water, chunk yellowfin in water, chunk yellowfin in vegetable oil. This row, solid white low sodium water, solid white vegetable oil, solid yellowfin extra virgin olive oil, chunk light in vegetable oil, and chunk white no salt added water. Some close-ups if you're interested. Chunk light in water, chunk white in water, chunk yellowfin in water, chunk yellowfin vegetable oil, solid white in water, low sodium, solid white vegetable oil, solid yellowfin extra virgin olive oil, chunk light in vegetable oil, chunk white in water, no salt added. As I taste these, I'm going to give them a rating similar to the way that I did the chicken in this video, and I'll try not to confuse you guys this time as much as I did in that video. This time I'm going to give the first one, which is going to be chunk light in water, yum, a rating of 5. The higher the rating, the better the taste. The lower rating of the score, the worse the taste. No, I'm not going to eat all this tuna and the mercury that may be in it. I don't want to become a walking thermometer. Without further ado, chunk light in water. I'm not a fan of tuna. Nevertheless, that's the one that starts off with a rating of 5. Very fishy tasting, much more so than fish. Very soggy. Texture is squishy. So it gets a 5. Next is the chunk white in water. Okay, so it's going to get a rating of 6.5. It is much better than the chunk light, in my opinion. Texture is a little bit better, a little more firm. From the research I did, the albacore is more firm than the other, than the skipjack and the chunk lights, and I find that to be true. The chunk yellowfin in water. The chunk yellowfin is slightly better tasting than the chunk white, so I'll give this one a 6.5, even though it tastes a little bit better. The texture of the chunk white, I like that much better than the texture of the yellowfin. So those two are roughly the same. One has a better texture, one a slightly better flavor. I haven't noticed any saltiness in any of those three as of yet. They all three have salt in the ingredient list. The chunk yellowfin in vegetable oil. It is much better than those in water, but it's in canola oil. But the taste is better. The texture is as good as the chunk white in water, but the taste is much better. It's less fishy tasting than the first three, so it gets a rating of 7.5. Next is the solid white in water, 25% less sodium. This is the one that had the fillet looking pieces with it. That one is very bland, very dry, but I could see how it might be good if you mixed it with mayonnaise or something and made tuna salad on a sandwich or for crackers. That one would be really good for that, I think. But taste-wise, it's back down to the 6.5. And even though I couldn't taste the salt in the others, the one with less salt that I just tried, this one with 25% less salt, something made a difference in the taste. I'm assuming that was the salt. Next is the solid white in vegetable oil. So that's pretty good. I'll give it a 7.0. It's not hardly as good as the yellowfin in oil, but it's still pretty good. I liked it. The texture is better, the taste is better than the chunk lights and the low sodium one. 7.0. Next is the solid yellowfin in extra virgin olive oil. I will give that one a rating of 8.5. I like it very well, but the olive oil taste is pretty overpowering. It tastes more like olive oil than it does tuna, which is good for me. 8.5, but if you don't like olive oil, you won't like that one very well. Next is the chunk light in vegetable oil. That's much better than I expected after having tasted the chunk light in water. So I would give that one a rating of 7.5. If you like tuna and you want to enhance the flavor of the tuna, tuna in oil seems to be the way to go. The olive oil is only if you're eating it for your health or you just simply like olive oil. The last one is chunk white albacore with no salt added. No. There's no taste. It's not fishy. There's no taste to it. Texture is okay. It's like, I don't know, tofu maybe? I don't know how to describe it. Texture is okay. It's pretty firm as far as tuna goes. No taste, no salt, no oil taste. I won't get any more of that. That one would go back down to the 5.0. It's different than the chunk light in water, but it's not any better. Texture's better. It's just not good. However, if you were going to make recipes with tuna where the other ingredients were going to overpower the tuna and you didn't want that fishy flavor coming out, that one would be the ideal one to put in there because it's firm. The taste isn't going to flavor everything else. So I guess it does have its place. So in summary about the canned tuna, for me, I seem to like the yellowfin tuna better. I did not realize that until making this video. I do not like the chunk light tuna in water or any of them in water. I do not like the no sodium added. Nearly any of them would work well if the ingredients you're going to mix with them overpower the tuna, like in tuna salad. One that stands out for me is the solid yellowfin in extra virgin olive oil, but I like olive oil. If you like olive oil, I think that will be your pick as well. If you don't like the olive oil, then one of the other types in vegetable oil, as far as the taste of the tuna, is going to be far superior than the tuna in water. If you're just getting it for the protein and a little bit of the good fats, you're going to want to skip those in vegetable oil. The olive oil will still be good because it has the good olive oil fats and the tuna fats. So I hope that helps you out with picking and choosing your tuna for your prepper pantry. If you've got any questions, ask me in the comments or send me an email. Email link is in the description boxes. So my question for you guys for this video, do you have a favorite type of canned tuna, or a favorite brand of canned tuna, or a favorite recipe for your canned tuna? Any and all of those, we'd like to hear from you down in the comments below. Be sure you check out the description box below. We have some articles down there for you guys in regard to nutrition and mercury levels. Links to the videos I pointed out in this video are down there, and a link to our Amazon store is down there. We'd like to invite you guys to check it out. Mercury is a concern. I think I can tell the temperature of this room right now from all the mercury that I just ate. What about mercury? Of the three main types, the chunk light has about 0.118 parts per million of mercury. The white, solid or chunk, has about 3.50 parts per million of mercury, which is about 3 times as much mercury in the white as in the chunk light. Yellowfin has 0.354, right almost exactly the same as the albacore. And the big eye tuna has 0.689 parts per million. Those numbers come from FDA research, and I'll put a link to an article about that down in the description box if you're interested. And another interesting thing about the mercury levels is they have only tested the most popular 3 brands, which include Star-Kissed, Bumblebee, and I think Chicken of the Sea. I'm not advocating any of those. I just happened to have found Star-Kissed on the shelf when I was getting ready to make the video. But all the store brands, dollar store brands and so forth, to my understanding, they have not been checked for mercury levels on a regular basis or in a big study. And some of the findings that I found in my research indicated that they can have really high levels of mercury, and sometimes they don't. So if mercury is a concern, you might want to do a little further research and stick with the name brands. So when it comes to mercury and us, you guys, what do those numbers mean? Is tuna safe to eat? So according to the FDA, when it comes to the chunk light tuna, they recommend 2 or 3 4-ounce servings per week. These are 5-ounce cans. Most of these cans say 4 ounces drained weight. So a can of tuna. That's 2 or 3 cans of tuna per week for an adult, according to the FDA, of the chunk light. When it comes to the albacore tuna, the FDA says 1 serving per week. Another study or recommendation that I found was from Medical News Today, and they say that if you're 140 pounds or over, then for the chunk light tuna, 1 serving every 3 days. That's a little different than the FDA, but they say when it comes to the albacore or the white tuna, 1 serving every 10 days. And according to them, the smaller the person, the less that you should eat, which is why we've heard children, babies, and pregnant women to be very conservative on their tuna consumption, or maybe not at all. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a researcher. I know people are concerned about mercury, so I'll put links to a couple or 3 articles down in the description box if you want to check those out. And if you are concerned about mercury, then I highly suggest that you do your own research for a couple of hours and see what you find. And then decide if you want lots of that in your prepper pantry or just a little bit, and instead of this, maybe some other kind of fish or some other kind of meat. If canned tuna is not your thing, but you like fish, then check this out.